Do you think it's a red flag if a man can't cook at all? Story that prompted the question. I went on a date with a 31-year-old man, and during the conversation I learned that he absolutely doesn't know how to cook almost anything. Apparently every now and then he has tried to cook something with chicken and usually causes salmonella poisoning because he undercooks it. He was surprised to learn about a meat thermometer from me. When I asked him what he can cook without causing food poisoning, he listed the following: omelets, cereal, ramen, and sandwiches. And just to clarify, he meant just adding boiling water to prepared ramen noodles, not making ramen from scratch. I was flabbergasted. Like, how do you make it to 3 decades of life without knowing how to actually cook at least a few tasty dishes? He then added that he went to the grocery store the other day and picked up zucchini by accident. He meant to get cucumbers. Like, this man can't even identify basic vegetables, lol. I was so turned. Spelling.
My father is like that. Doesn't know at all how to cook and isn't interested in learning either. He's 51 now and he's been with my mom for 25 plus years. So, I would say it's possible to be happy with someone that doesn't cook, but my dad was upfront with my mom since he told her that if she wanted to commit a relationship with him, he would never cook. My mom didn't mind because she adores cooking. She has a big kitchen and a bunch of gadgets. At the end of the day, you just need to know what you're getting into and need to evaluate if it bothers you that you'll always do the cooking for the rest of your life. I am 20. Adore cooking too, but I value more the activity with my GF. It can create some quality time for us, so I know that I would mind if someone that I met didn't know at all some things about cooking. It really depends on you in the end.
I'm a guy, but I like to look at my grandparents for questions like this. My grandfather has passed now, but he was an amazing cook. He grew up really poor and rarely had food, so when he was older and could afford it, he spent so much time learning how to cook, and he was amazing at. Grandma didn't know how to cook at all. She could do the basics to survive, but that was about it. When my grandpa hit 70 though, he started to decline physically and couldn't cook like he wanted to. My grandma took over. She was in her 70s and knew very little, but she took the time to learn and eventually was insanely good as well. Point being, in my opinion, it doesn't matter if someone has the skill to cook or whatever. It matters an insane amount if they're willing to put in the work when it matters or when their partner needs them. Just my opinion though.
It's only a red flag if he refuses to learn.
Red flag to me means dangerous. I dated a guy who was this bad at cooking. He was also a math PhD, knew a bunch of programming languages, spoke 3 verbal languages, was really fair-minded and kind. He just severely lacked some day-to-day life skills. I guess if this person refused to learn because they demanded their partner cook for them, that could be a red flag. My guy was just not very interested in food, forgot to eat regularly, and made enough to just buy prepared or restaurant meals all the time. I definitely didn't consider it a red flag, just a little unfortunate.
My BF doesn't cook, never has, probably never will. He can afford to just order food every day though, so I don't really need to make up for it. However, it does make me sad I don't cook much, but also I won't complain.
Would he do all the dishes if you do all the cooking? Oh man, my roomie is 30, hates cooking, doesn't know how to cook anything, even the basic things, and eats out almost every meal. I never seen him cook for his GF. If I was his GF, I would think that's a red flag. Location flag. This is also on top of other basic house chores that he doesn't know how to do or do them properly.
I don't think it's a red flag, but I wouldn't date him unless he was seriously willing to learn. I personally am looking for someone who is.
I barely cook and I'm nearly in my 40s. Now I can follow a recipe off the internet, but it'll often turn out wonky if I'm asked to make subjective calls like salting, to taste, or leaving something in the oven until golden brown. With practice I could probably get a sense for some of those things, but it's a crapshoot. I do recall a really good vegan shepherd's pie I made once, and I got really good at cooking lentil soup for about a year in my life, but in practice makes imperfect. It's partially from growing up in a house with no cooks. No one taught my dad to cook because he was a boy in an old-fashioned house, and no one taught my mom to cook because she split her childhood between a very small town and residential school. When I was young, she was also in school, so most nights involved fish sticks, corn on the cob, or mashed potatoes made by either. Then I've gotten by with eating out and simple meals. I'm not a picky eater, so I haven't Mine did. And I'm impatient. Why spend a half hour cooking when I could have something done in 5 to 10 minutes I barely have to watch? Cooking isn't fun for me, and the reward for it doesn't feel all that different for me from the punishment of not doing. I'm anti-cooking, and would refuse to learn it, or that I don't wish I could do it, or even that I haven't missed out. But that is why I haven't really learned it for the last few decades, and don't feel all that much need to learn it going forward.
I'm a 30 meters here and I don't cook. I order meals from like meal prep services. I do cook some meal prep type stuff. I'd rather spend my time doing extra hours at work and going to the gym, not cooking and cleaning dishes every night.
He can cook. He can read and follow recipes. He can look up what vegetables look like. He can read the signs, labels. He does not want to learn how to cook dishes beyond what he makes for himself. Has this guy been single for most of his life? Are you concerned that he is unaware, uncaring, ignorant about some basic aspects of being an adult?
Nope. My fiancé is the hot dog king. Meaning he can't cook but can make a quick hot dog or air-fried chicken sandwich to survive. He never had to cook cause his grandmother, mum, and ex-wife did all the cooking. Now me, I love to cook. So it didn't bother me. He always does the dishes, laundry and yard work. We both have 2 jobs. I work remote, so I have the time in the actual house to plan meals I want to cook. No big deal. Perfect about compromise. If you don't enjoy cooking or if he isn't willing to learn, try then don't waste your time. Can you fix a flat tire or check the oil in your car?
Yes, I do. It is so easy to use Google and follow a recipe or tutorial. I'm a woman and wouldn't claim myself a chef by any means, but I know how to follow instructions. That's what it really comes down to in my mind.
Don't date adult babies.
Do you think it's a red flag if a woman can't cook at all? No.
Did your father ever do things your mother couldn't because she didn't know how? My mother cooked. My father did all the maintenance. They had different strengths and weaknesses in different things. You can't know it all. Can also be swapped. I know her tools. Maybe my man cooks better. You're a team.
Sort of to tag onto this, growing up my dad was the experimental cook who loved going to grocery stores and markets to get ingredients, and you never knew what he was up to in the kitchen. Carrot ginger soup, homemade fried tomatoes, Vietnamese pho from scratch. My mum was a good cook, but she was about getting quick and nutritious food on the table in 30 minutes for 3 kids. I feel like some people cook because they love it, and some people just cook to eat. Nothing wrong with either unless it bothers the other person. And it's definitely important that if cooking is an important skill or part of someone's life, that their partner supports it or takes an interest in it. It's so lovely your grandma took the time to learn it for your grandpa.
I'd rather not wait to find out if my partner would only learn to cook if I had some kind of debilitating illness.
I'm mid-30s and cook 3 to 4 nights a week now, but I didn't even attempt to try cooking until I was in my late 20s, as I didn't need or want to for the following reasons. Really excuses until I was 28. 1. It was easier and more importantly faster to eat out or order pizza. 2. At the start I was intimidated by all the gadgets and tools I thought needed. 3. I lived in apartments that were not conducive for cooking. 4. Felt it was wasteful as most recipes have servings for multiple people, not individuals. What got me into it was the combination of wanting to learn, having a partner to cook with. 4. And meal prep companies with specific instructions.
This is exactly what I was going to say. Cooking is a necessity, especially if our spouse is sick and can't. Gotta feed kids too if they have any.
That was my thought. He is just waiting for someone to come into his life and do it all for him.
I was just about to say, I'm over 30 and a woman working on a PhD and I won't cook. My partner cooks every single thing in our home. I always joke that I haven't so much as made myself a sandwich since we moved in together. But guess what? He hasn't washed a dish since we moved in either. You can have different skill sets, it's about what you do as a partner generally. That also agree that red flags have lost all meaning. Lol.
Greater than red flag to me means dangerous. Yeah, social media has completely destroyed this term for me. Now if I see red flag, I roll my eyes and part of me immediately thinks the user of the term is the one in the it a red flag if she won't put out twice a week? Greater than is it a red flag if he refuses to carry my handbag for me? Greater than is it a red flag if she doesn't change her sheets weekly? Greater than is it a red flag if he takes his shoes off inside the door vs outside the door? Like Jesus, no it's not, it's a preference. If a prospective partner doesn't like to cook and you want him to cook, it's not a red flag, you're just incompatible.
Spot on. They think we're out here starving because we choose not to make a 5-cheese ziti lol.
Similar situation here. It's not that I don't want to continue to learn how to cook, but I realized that I would rather spend the extra money to buy prepared meals as opposed to spending the extra time and effort to cook and clean when I could be doing something else. I'm not as bad as OP's date though lol.
Yes, and These's days with YouTube videos on just about everything. He should be able to teach himself how to cook and how to identify vegetables.
I doubt the date in question knows how to do those. There is a difference between a once every few months task, if that, and a daily task like cooking.
Right, I don't get people who say that can't cook. Like JSUT follow the recipe?
The comments full of your replies. I can't count anymore how many tools were mentioned in the comments section lol.